Hello. What to sow in October? I'm Liz Zorab and this is By the Farm. What seeds can I sow in October? Well, there are plenty of them. If you have a covered growing area like a polytunnel greenhouse or even a cold frame, you can start off some spring onions now. This variety is called Performer, but I also like to use Guardsman during the winter. They'll grow away nicely. Performer will grow all year round with a bit of cover, and it will provide you fresh onion flavour in your kitchen. And you can also sow some winter lettuces and salad leaves now. So things like corn salad or lamb's lettuce, a broadleaf lettuce, something like Winter Density, Winter Gem or Winter Imperial should grow very nicely under cover. Some of them, like Winter Imperial, will also grow outside. I tried this last year. I planted some outside, some inside. The ones outside did okay, but they really limped away in comparison to the ones under cover with a little bit of protection. And there are several brassicas that you can start off under cover too. So cauliflower, and the one that I talk about all the time is all the year round. I've had varying degrees of success with this, and I've heard from others that they've struggled with this too at some times, but certainly I'm going to be sowing a few of those now, not very many, just maybe half a dozen plants at the most. Calabrese can be sown now. A variety like Marathon can be started off under cover, and likewise something like a cauliflower Romanesque. And don't forget, you can also start spring cabbages this month. There we go. Now I'm moving the cane. If I can't feel much give below me as I'm pushing, then obviously I'm not going to get the tubing in very far, so I'm being a bit flexible about where they go. And it is just a case of sliding the tubing over the cane and pushing down. So now I've got all four tubes in that I want to use. And so here's my other piece of wood, and this one I'm going to slot down on the inside of the raised bed like that. So there we go, my very, very makeshift growing tunnel. And there are quite a lot of vegetables that you can sow direct into the ground outside at this time of year. Broad beans can be sown now. Make sure you get a hardy variety, something like Aquadulce Claudia, and that will grow away gently during the autumn and winter, and then really pick up for you in the spring and give you a nice early crop of tasty broad beans. And likewise, some varieties of peas can be sown now. They can be quite hardy and they'll grow outside, giving you lots of fresh pea shoots to add that pea flavour to your meals during the winter. I'll leave a list of all the seeds and the varieties and links to where you can buy them, both in the UK and the USA, in the information in the video description. So you need to look underneath the video. You'll find a description box, and in there you'll find all that information. And field beans can be sown now. They're often grown as a cover crop to be turned into the soil to increase the nitrogen content of the soil. But you can pinch out the growing tips of field beans and lightly steam those. I didn't know about this tasty addition to the kitchen until a couple of years ago when I was chatting with Steve over at Steve's Seaside Allotment, and he said it's really worth giving it a try because it just adds another element of freshness to your food in the winter. If you'd like to know in more detail what I grow here and why, my first book, Grounded, will be published in the spring, and you can pre-order it now. I'll leave a link on the screen and in the video description. And it's time to start putting in your autumn planted onion sets. So you need to make sure you've got a variety suitable for overwintering. And they're very easy. Just make a hole in the ground and you push them in. I like to sow mine fairly deeply, so the bulb will be there and there'll be a couple of inches of soil above it. And I do that because as the little roots are growing down to the soil, they can sometimes push the bulb up a little bit. The little growing tips are very attractive to birds who then pull them out of the ground and they become dislodged. So by planting them that little bit deeper, the roots will have got established and anchored it into the ground before that green shoot shows itself and the birds get a chance to pull at it, and hopefully that way it keeps them more securely in the ground. And likewise, it's time to plant garlic. You can either buy your garlic for growing from a seed seller, or if you grew it this year and you still have some stored away, you can use that. And the way to sow garlic is very simple. You take a bulb and you gently prise it apart, and you take the individual cloves and you plant these. You need to put the flat side downwards and the pointy side up, because the roots will come from that little flat basal plate. These will overwinter and they'll grow away, and you'll be able to harvest them, depending on the variety, between May and July next year. Each little clove will form a whole new bulb, and by having the cool period over winter, it means that they will actually separate out into separate cloves and not just be one solid bulb, or I think that's how it works. Erica over at Erica's Little Welsh Garden reminded me this week that now it's time to put some carrots in under cover. So I've grown them in the polytunnel. I've chosen a variety called Amsterdam 3. It's quite quick growing variety, so hopefully over the winter it will just grow away very gently and steadily and give us some carrots in the early new year. I'm also going to start some kale under cover, and I'm not going to grow it for its large leaves, but for its very young leaves, which I can add to salads or I can steam lightly and use as a side dish. I grow a red Russian kale. It grows quite quickly, so from sowing to harvesting is 3 to 4 weeks. Even in the coolest weather, it's probably not much more than 4 weeks before I can harvest some small leaves. If you're enjoying this video or getting some value from it, please give it a thumbs up or leave a comment, or both. And if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you have a cold frame or a cloche, you can start some spinach now. Make sure that it's one that likes cooler weather, something like perpetual. But again, I'll leave links in the video description with all the varieties that I'm going to be growing. And both undercover and outside, I'm going to be growing some mustards. My favourite is Oriental Ruby Streaks. The small leaves, which have got a red colouring to them, and they're quite feathery. The small leaves got a caramelised taste almost, and then the more you chew them, and also the larger the leaves get, the more peppery and fiery that taste becomes. I'm also going to sow mustard, Snow in Green. It has larger, flatter green leaves. It's also quite punchy in taste. And then don't forget things that you can sow on your windowsill. Herbs like basil, dill and parsley will grow quite happily on your windowsill in the kitchen. And so will bean sprouts and mustard and cress. They're so simple to grow. Little bit of cotton wool or dampened tissue, and spread the seeds very thinly across them, and in no time at all you'll be able to harvest those to add to salads and to sandwiches. And one last seed that I'll be growing under cover in the polytunnel over winter is beetroot. It grows very slowly, but I can use the baby leaves in salads and then leave the roots to develop in spring, and it gives me a really nice harvest of really quite small but very tasty roots in early springtime. There you go, 17 seeds that you can sow during the month of October. And so wherever you are in the world and whatever you've got planned for today, I hope it's a good one, and I also hope you'll join me again next time.